everybody doing this morning? Doing good? Doing good? It's early. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. It's early for me. I don't wake up this early. I usually get up around 10. Um, see all the old heads talking about. I would have had lunch already. What you talking about? How's everybody doing? My name's Evan Collier. I'm so happy to be here. It's just a wonderful experience. I'm gonna let the founder come up in a little bit, but before he comes up, um, and I'm gonna step away from the podium, but it's just such an important event that we're having. It's such an important conference that we're having, especially at this time in our nation's history. And I don't want to be that person to really go into all the details, but it is urgent that all of us in this room are continuously having conversations in order to be better and productive members of society. And right now, and I think when Pastor Chris is here, she put it like this: a lot of people look at us with just a face. We have a color, and it's already made up in their minds what we are, how we look, what we're going to do, where we live, the communities that we come from, the things that we're into, the gangs we're affiliated with. And we all understand that we're not with that. We're not a part of that community. But in order to change that narrative, and it's not just for those people, it's for us, how can we start changing that narrative and be productive members of society? This is where it starts. We start with conversation. We start with presentations. We start with hearing from experts in their fields to understand how we can start making progress in the right direction. So again, I'm so blessed to have everybody here. Um, I am the president of the board, and I'm just joined by so many fantastic brothers that really just allowed this to come to fruition. My father, the founder, Everett Collier, to give him a hand really quickly. His vision just came to fruition, and this is the very, very beginning. So I'm just so happy that you were able to take the time to really see this through and bring together this collective of people that I have all sitting in front of me. And again, I just want to thank the board members collectively. And I see my boy Alan Ashby just came in. How's everything? Good, good, good. So without further ado, I'm going to allow the founder to come up and have a few words, and then we're going to jump into our first presentation. Everett Collier.
God bless you, everyone. I am elated on this morning. Can y'all hear me without this mic? I always tell, I, oh, they won't be able to, okay, all right. So I always tell Elder, I said, I don't need any mic time. You know, I can sit in the audience and just take in and be a sponge. But I have to say this, and I want to start with, I want to lead with this idea of brothership. Um, Elder Andrea, I mentioned to her, well, I want to do something with the men. God put it on my heart to do something different and not necessarily align it to just be another ministry, but to be able to reach the masses. And so what's the masses? Like, what do you define as the masses? Well, you define it on your own. But me, I felt like I wanted to be able to reach brothers from different walks of life, bring them to one setting, and for us to be able to share collectively our God-given talent, right? Because sometimes we take what God has given us and we just keep it to ourselves. It's not meant for us to keep it to ourselves. It's meant for us to share. And everything shouldn't come with a cost. And so brothership is free. So when I say if it's free, it's for me, right? And so with that being said, when we started the Zoom, and I'm sending out the Zooms, and I'm like, just join. It ain't going to cost you anything. But guess what? You got a lot to gain. When you have brothers that come on and they're sharing information that you've never experienced, never knew anything about, and they come on and they share, that was part of the vision. So the vision is basically centered around the whole man, to teach, to train, and to empower them for success, right? Reaching their individual talents and being able to send that information out to the masses. Whatever the masses is to you, right? Because it might be something different for me, but whatever it is, that's what the goal is here. So I am so happy that you all took time out of your schedule to come here on today. This is our inaugural, right? And so I wanted us to be able to come together in person, because we've been on the Zoom, and I think just about everybody here probably has been on the Zoom at least once. And so I wanted us to come together in person and be able to shake and put that face with the voice that you heard on that Zoom. And so I want to be able to do this annually. And so I wanted to start here because this is home for me. I live in Georgia, but this is home for me. But I wanted to start here, and then we see what happens next year. But the goal really next year is for it to be in Georgia. So I just want to say thank you for coming out. Share this platform. It's free. Because guess what happens with our people? We wait until there's a cost associated with it, and then we try to join. It's free, and I'm saying that openly. You're getting grand information from brothers that have been in their specialty, in their field for years. And I don't want to sit here and start talking about different people like Eric and what he shared was invaluable, what John shared, and all these different brothers. And so, it's always a learning experience. And so I commend you to take advantage of this organization. All right? God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Say you don't need no mic time, but he can sure get up here and talk, all right? Nah, seriously, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Without further ado, we're going to go to our first presenter, Marlon Addison, and I'll just tell you a little bit about him. Fantastic brother. I actually met through another very, very fantastic friend of mine as well. And I'll just read a little bit of his bio. Marlon is a sales and marketing leader who thrives on the interdependency between sales and data analytics. He has over 2 decades of experience within the healthcare insurance arena and is drawn to sales, marketing, and education, all while building and steadying relationships. Call him the sales whisperer. Sales whisperer. He is also an adjunct professor of sales and business at the William Patterson University of New Jersey. He has a consulting company called Marlon Mentors, which specifically focuses on teaching emotional intelligence and sales techniques to corporations and colleges and universities. A trainer and coach at his core, he pushes teams to listen for the things they are complimented on the most and on what comes easy to or for them. Those things are your superpowers. Strategic and international, Marlon thrives when mentoring corporate leaders and students at colleges and universities. Mentoring high schoolers, college students, and young adults provides an unimaginable thrill as he learns as much from them as they do from him. That's powerful. He is heavily involved in teaching and discussing emotional intelligence and lends his expertise to the RBI, the Russ Berry Institute, arm of the Catsakos College of Business at the William Patterson University of New Jersey. Marlon received his Bachelor's of Arts degree in Political Science and American Literature from Felicia University and his Executive Master of Science in Sales Leadership from William Patterson University of New Jersey, which is the first of its kind in the country. His areas of interest are related to sales communication, emotional intelligence advocate, and a trainer. And I welcome him to present, and I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for coming. Marlon Addison.
Appreciate you. Thank you. So I believe everybody in here are Cowboys fans. That's what I heard. Well, all right, look, that's what I heard. No line in the house of the Lord. That's what I know it's a mixture. So in all seriousness, thank you for having me, especially at the inaugural. I wasn't aware of that. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys inviting me out. And I'm very interactive, so you'll see that. You'll see the energy. You'll feel the energy. And I just want to get a little bit, into it from here. So emotional intelligence. How many have heard about emotional intelligence? All right. What do you think it means? Anybody? What do you think emotional intelligence means? To be aware of your internal feelings and how to process things. Anybody else?
I think from a third-party view, understanding other people's emotional development and utilizing that to better understand and work through issues.
So from a third-party perspective, looking outward, just kind of self-realizing, but seeing where you are, but also where somebody else is. Okay. You guys agree with that? Make sense? All right, so next question. How often do we utilize emotional intelligence? Just because you know something doesn't mean you apply it. So how often do we use it? Anybody? It depends. Depends on the day. Depends on how I'm feeling. Where you are emotionally. So what do you think the purpose of emotional intelligence is? To better yourself. To better yourself. What else? Better relationships. Okay. All right. Do me a favor. Step up for a minute. Come up here for a minute. All right. What's your name?
Chaz.
Chaz? Chaz, right? So Chaz is here, right? I'm walking down the block, right? Chaz is walking down the other side, right? I bump Chaz. I keep it moving. What does Chaz do normally? Not standing here. What is Chaz? Chaz, what do you do?
Oh, we gonna have some words.
We're gonna have some words at least. So if I did that to anybody else in here, would you have the same reaction? Same reaction. So would you think to say, you know what? What's going on with Marlon? That he bumped me and kept it pushing versus me wanting to knock this joker out, right? Would that come to mind first, or would we do a Chaz? We do a Chaz? So emotional intelligence, right, is knowing that, right? Knowing that you can square up, right? Knowing that Chaz probably does have hands, right? To throw the hands, but just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? And we understand that and we know that, but here's where wisdom comes in, right? People say knowledge is, king. Knowledge is information. It is information. It's not king. The application of said knowledge is king, right? So if he knows emotional intelligence, and he defined it, he does, but if he doesn't apply it, that means Chaz is not using wisdom, right? So that's the core we're trying to get to. I appreciate you, Chaz. Thanks. So we want to make sure we're applying that wisdom to it, right? So we know where the light switch is, right? I know that. But without that action and applying it, can I turn it off and on if I don't get up? Right? So emotional intelligence at its core is applying that wisdom, right? Applying that wisdom. So I want you guys to repeat 3 things. I'm going to get into detail of what emotional intelligence specifically is so that you have it go forward. So 3 things, right? Desire. All right? Desire. Discipline. Doing. So desire, discipline, doing. All right, so desire comes before discipline. Typically as men, we're disciplined in certain areas, right? You may see somebody who's wilding out somewhere, right, on the streets, and we'll say, that joker's undisciplined. He may be in that particular area. Doesn't mean he's not disciplined in other areas, right or wrong, right? We're just seeing what we see. So I don't want to make that assumptions. Yeah, he's not disciplined in that particular area, but doesn't mean he's not disciplined in other areas. So desire comes first. He does not have a desire to be disciplined in that particular area that he's not disciplined in. Does that make sense? So that's why desire comes before discipline. As men, we also, and I'm guilty of it as well. I tell my son, hey, man, you got to be more disciplined than that. But I got to figure out what his desire is, because if you don't want to do it, are we going to do it as men? It's not happening. We're not going to do it. So you need to have that desire, right? The discipline, and then what's the last one? Doing. What's another word for doing? Action, right? That's how you take action, right? The thought comes, right? You think about it, and then it becomes an action, right? So it's the desire, the discipline, and then the action. And that's emotional intelligence succinctly. That's emotional intelligence, right? Because your desire is, right, Chaz, we want to, but let me switch that desire, right? I know what I can do. And then also, before we do anything, one question we should ask ourselves, right? One question. What will this lead to? That's it, right? What would it lead to? It could be something positive. Hey, Chaz is out there. I'm going to introduce myself. I want to get to know him better. What would that lead to? May lead to a positive relationship, right? I don't want to say what would it lead to, and it's always negative, right? A connotation, a negative connotation. What would it lead to in a positive scenario, right? We should always ask that question, whether we're home, whether we're just kicking it, whether we think it's a simple decision. All decisions are simple, right? And simple doesn't always equate to easy. It can be simple, doesn't mean it's easy, right? Most of us know how to lose weight, right? Simple. Is it easy? Nah, because I like what I like, right? So want to keep that in mind, all right? Is this making sense? Awesome. So, Everett, can we go to the, all right, so click it again for me. So that's the official term for it, right? You guys nailed it, right? That's the official term, right? It's a set of learnable skills and characteristics, right? Learnable is the key word, right? We can always learn this. Learnable skills in relationship with other people. Everett talked about that. How it's associated with leadership and sales performance, which I love. I always make that interconnection because we're always selling, right? Always. I don't care what you're doing, whether it's a job interview, whether it's introducing yourself to somebody, you're always selling. People going to see you coming before, right? And so what was mentioned earlier, I like to say this as well. We make snap judgments, right? Anybody ever heard of the 7-Eleven rule? Right? So the 7-Eleven rule is I'm making 11 snap judgments in 7 seconds. I see Chaz. He's from around the way. He probably act up with these jokers. We just make decisions, right? Kind of like if you're going into a bank old school. If I'm going in with a sweatsuit, somebody else is coming in with the suit. Doesn't mean the suit has more money, but who is likely to be leaned more toward, right? And we all do it. Whatever it is, we all make, whether it's male, female, doesn't matter, we make those 11 snap judgments. Sometimes we're on point, sometimes we're not, right? But it goes back to assumptions and asking yourself, where would this lead to? Make sense? All right, so 7-Eleven rule, where will this lead to? And desire, discipline, and doing. That's right, that action. All right, press it again for me, Ev. All right. So there's 4 competencies to emotional intelligence. What do you guys think that is? What do you think they are? Take a guess. It's 4. You already hit on some of them. Self-awareness. All right, click that. Look at that. Look at that. Self-awareness. All right, he cheated. So self-management, right? We talked about that as well, right? Just because I bumped Chaz or he bumped me, I can have self-management, right? I don't have to be dictated toward the action that the negative person initiated, right? I don't have to be geared toward the action that the negative person dictated, all right? I don't have to do that. I know it's tough, especially with men, because that's how we're geared, right? Hey, hold on, Joker. I know you felt that, right? But I could have been in a daze, something could have happened, right? So let me do this. It was a man coming home on a train, right? He had his 2 little kids with him, right, on the train. They were just everywhere, jumping everywhere. People are looking around like, bro, get your kids. Get your kids, man. All right, and he's just in a daze. So finally somebody steps up to him and say, hey, man, your kids all over the train. They're tugging on people's bags and clothes. And he said, I'm so sorry. I'm just so out of it. We all just left the hospital where my wife just died from cancer, right? So initially we're like, yeah, man, get your kids. But then, the mindset shifts, right? And that's what emotional intelligence does. Don't make assumptions. You never know. It could be that the kids were just being rowdy. But in this instance, they were being rowdy. They were lashing out because they just lost their mom, right? So we need to be aware of that, self-aware and self-management. Make sense? Yes. Awesome. Click the next one for me. Relationship management, right? Right? And so this is moving people in a desired direction. And I like to stay here for just a second. It doesn't mean manipulation. It does not mean that. Sometimes people who are gifted, who are charismatic, they tend to manipulate folks. Don't do that. I want to move you in a desired direction. Think of it if we're training our sons, if we're training our daughter in basketball, for whatever the sport is, right? You want to move them into a desired direction. You don't want to manipulate them. I may make it goal-oriented, right? But I don't want to manipulate them and try to trick them. No. This is where I want to move this grown man. And that way, after we talk about it, we can say, you know what, Marlon, I appreciate that. Or I can say, hey, Chaz, I appreciate that, what you've done. I see how you moved me and where I was coming from. That you didn't have to do that, but I appreciate it. Make sense? Awesome. And the last one, social awareness, right? And so that's consideration of other people's feelings. What's another word for social awareness? Consideration for other people's feelings. You got it. He back there cheating. So absolutely, right? Having that empathy for others, right? We know what it is, but again, back to wisdom, sometimes we don't apply it. Sometimes we don't apply it. All right, hit that again for me. All right, so it's an equation for emotional intelligence, right? It's an equation for it. Click it again. And it's basically the same four things, right? So it's perceiving emotions, understanding emotions, managing emotions, and then using them, right? Perceiving, understanding, managing, using, right? That's why I used it physical, like perceive it. Is it a threat? Maybe not. If I bumped them and kept walking because we feel, what's our number one thing with men? Respect, right? Like, hold on, right? Respect, which is a good thing. But how do we use said respect, right? Sometimes it can get out of hand and we don't want that. That's why we're big on managing emotions and emotional intelligence, particularly with men, right? It's stronger not to hit a joker than to hit a joker, right? It is. Sometimes we know what we can do and we'll square up and like, I felt good. But sometimes actually most times it's more difficult to restrain yourself, right? Especially when you know, I'm not afraid of him, right? I know what I can do, win or lose. I'm not. But you have to use wisdom. Again, the question is, where will this lead, right? All right? So another quick story. If you're in a line at, let's say Starbucks. I don't drink coffee, but you're in a line at Starbucks, right? And it's a long line. So Al comes in, right? That's Al right here, and he probably will do this. Al comes in, right? He steps in front of you, right? Cuts in front of the line. That's what he does. He's from Newark. That's what he does. I'm from Jersey City, so I got to buy Newark cats. So he steps in front, right? What do you do? So let me ask it both ways. What do you do pre-emotional intelligence? What do you do after emotional intelligence? All right. So after emotional intelligence, what do you do? Yo, my man. which is fine. Which is fine, right? So Al says, man, whatever. Yo, let me get. What do you do? So it's a yo, my man part 2. Okay, so you're giving them some rope, some just like hey, okay, all right. So he still ignores you, right? Let me get the pound cake with the icing. Yeah, that's slamming. Let me get a latte large. What do you do? So I'm loving the honesty, right? And this is just real, right? And it's real, and I give real life situations, right? Because this is stuff that happens every day. It does, right? So I applaud that. You may hit him with a yo, my man, right? Depending on the area you're in, like we recognize, like yo, you get it. And if he keeps stepping down the line, you may hit him with a part 2, or you may go up there, look, whatever he's having, I'm having this. Put it on his bill and see what happens. You could do that, or after the yo, my man, you could say, you know what, man? You cut these people in line. We were here. I would appreciate it if you just step back so we can order. All right? Now, if he doesn't, right, you got decisions to make. You can push it, but asking yourself, where will this lead? Because I think we know where it's going to lead, right? Or you can say, you know what? Let him order. I'm just going to get mine and then leave, right? Because it's not worth it. But that is disrespectful. And I put those because those are scenarios that actually happened to me pre-emotional intelligence days. So I use real life scenarios, right? I do. So I appreciate that. So another set of questions besides asking yourself, where will this lead, right? You can ask, and again, I encourage you to use this at home too, especially if you have a spouse, if you have children, whatever. Single, doesn't matter, right? The first question you should ask, particularly in that situation, should I say anything? Right? In that situation, it's a clear yes, right? Because you violated. I'm not telling you to stand down and everybody walk over you. I'm just telling you to use your head. So that's a clear yes. Should I say anything, right? Or rather, let me rephrase that. Should anything be said? And the answer is yes. The other part is, should this be said by me? right? And in this case, yes, because he violated you specifically, right? And then the last question would be, should it be said right now? So even when you're at home, you may have an argument, with the missus, and you may think, I can light her up because I know I'm right? You may think that, like we men, and we're very logical. Or you can say, should this be said by me? And it may be a yes. And then the second one, should it be said right now? You may, nah, it shouldn't be. Right? Right? Or should it be said at all? It should. I'll catch her tomorrow. Make sense? Right? So these are tools I want, everyday tools and practical tools for emotional intelligence. All right? Cool. Let's click that. All right. So quick quiz. Emotional intelligence is an inborn trait and cannot be learned. True or false? False. Correct. Next one. Building one's EQ, that's emotional intelligence, starts with learning how to identify one's own emotions. True or false? Awesome. Next one. Learning to redirect one's disruptive emotions is a basic competency of emotional intelligence. True. That's the example we just used at Starbucks, right? Last one. By mastering knowing one's emotions, controlling one's disruptive emotions, managing interpersonal relationships, and being considerate of others' feelings, your EQ will increase. True or false? True. Awesome. All right. Click that. All right. So this is something I want to go. Give me some examples of human emotions. Anger. Sadness. Frustration. Love it. Happiness. Fear. Doubt. Guilt. Love it. Love it. All right. Click that for me. All right. Go again. Go again. All right. So this is blocking it, but I have anger up there, right? And this is another tool I want you guys to use, right? So typically, when we're upset, we say either we're upset or we're angry, right? So I want to press us to use our vocabulary more, right? And how do you do that? Same I do with brothers that I'm teaching or college students or with my children. People could do it with me. Scale of 1 to 10. Scale of 1 to 5. Weather, right? Are you cloudy today? Is it sunshine? Is there a chance of rain, right? I mix it up. Where are you? Letter grade, A, B, C, D, right? And this is what I tell my kid, oh, how are you today? Oh, I'm good. So you're a B. Probably more like a C. Okay, so you're a little low. You're a little average today, right? I get to the nitty gritty, right? And so what I mean by this, right? If I ask you, scale of 1 to 10, you say a 2. I'm like, you're not angry. You're a little annoyed, right? And I want us to focus on that. Because angry, especially anger, especially associated with the black men, right? It's a little different, right? So you may be a little annoyed, right? And then maybe it's a 3 or 4. Yeah, I resent what he did. I resent that. That's okay. Now we're getting deeper into it, right? And so I don't want you to get to outrage or fury, and I put hatred twice on purpose. Once you get to fury or hatred, what are my chances of calming you down? Right? Back to Starbucks, right? Yo, my man. If you get to the 3rd, yo, my man. I'm like, he gone. Marlon, he gonna do it, right? So we want to focus on ranges. So I tell people that all the time. Just ask yourself, where are you? I'm a little annoyed. Okay, great. All right, could you hit that again for me? Same with sadness, right? Right? A little gloom, a little melancholy. But if you get further down to loneliness, depression, despair, I don't want to catch you there. I want to catch you before it gets there. Does that make sense? All right? It's a huge deal, especially for men. Huge deal. So that's important. Did you hit that again for me? Fear, same thing. Maybe you just have a slight concern, right? Or a little anxious. Okay, it's getting a little serious. Have a little, I'm worn down, man. It's more than edginess. If I have dread and fright, especially, let's say, over our children, if somebody's attacking our children, it can get there real quick, right? Like, hold on. Marlon, emotional intelligence, whatever, right? So I want us to be able to identify that before we get there, because we as men, most of us know our trigger points, right or wrong, right? We know what sets us off. We know what's important to us, right? We know what our convictions are, right? You don't wait till you get in trouble to say, oh, no, all of a sudden I stand for that. We know what we stand for and what we don't stand for, right? Awesome, awesome. Hit that again for me. So on down the road, right? You can hit it again. Same examples with different things, like even with love, acceptance, friendliness, right? Kindness, on down to adoration and infatuation, right? I just want us to be aware of that and be concerned with that. All right. All right. So hit it again. I'm gonna ask you guys a few questions. Hit it again. Hit it again. Again. All right. I don't. Can you guys see his face? Ah. All right. So I have faces up there for you guys to determine, like what type of emotion that they're exhibiting. So since you can't see it, we're gonna go past that. So you can click it. There's just different emotions up there. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. One of them looked like he's constipated, but we won't touch that. All right. All right, you can go. Okay. So it's much more to emotional intelligence, right? Much more. But I wanted to present to you something that you can use practically in everyday life, right? That you can apply. Some things we know, some things we may have learned, but all these things are learnable, right? Make sense? So anybody, what stuck out to you the most with emotional intelligence? What stuck out the most? What are you going to use like ASAP? Self-management. Self-management. So when Al cuts you off at Starbucks, you going to manage that emotion? Anybody else? What are you going to use practically? Empathy. All right. Awesome. Love it. Love it. Hitting that reset button. Love it, love it, love it. Usually, and I'll say this statistically, men don't go for empathy first. So that's huge. Huge. Anybody else? 7-Eleven rule. Absolutely. Making those 11 snap adjustments in 7 seconds. And we all do it. Sometimes it plays to our advantage, sometimes not. You ever did that and you be like, man, this joker's not who I thought he was, right? Right? You're like, man. Some jokers I went to college with, it's like, man, whatever. From South Jersey. I'm from Jersey City. And then it ended up like that, right? You mature, right? 18, 19 years old, you mature. Anybody else? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Moment to moment. Love it.
I try to find a much better way to approach them, not antagonize them, because again, I'm teaching them how to handle situations when they get to my stage. So again, making decisions and knowing how to handle situations.
Great stuff. Guess my height right, too. Anything that stuck out for you?
Oh, scaling the emotion. I think that's a concept that helps individuals to practice thinking at the moment they are emotional to actually see is it what it is? Because a lot of people get conditioned to say, I am furious, when really they're not really furious. It's just that they're annoyed for the second, third, or fourth time. And a lot of times you see that missing link of not scaling the emotion keeps people from understanding how to manage it. Because if you don't really know where it's at, you get into a habit of where you always are used to it being, and it's false. So,
Love that. I ain't mad at those shoes either. I'm a 15, so let me know. Anybody else? We had 7-Eleven rule, managing emotions. I'm right to you.
The 7-Eleven rule applies to me all the time because I'm a realtor. So I'm the big black angry man walking into somebody's home. And the question I always ask myself whenever I'm in this situation is, what value would it add for me? You know, what will I get out of it? Is it worth it? You know, and that's kind of where empathy and managing the emotions of these strangers that I'm trying to present my business to kind of falls into play. You know, because it might be 11 emotions, but for them, they done squeeze in another 50 because of who I am. You know, so.
Appreciate that.
No, that is just a combination of everything that I heard, but most importantly is just, like you said, stop and understand what that next gentleman is going through that you just encountered. But I think Evan said this too, as a black man, we're perceived to have a certain response to situations. We're known to have knee-jerk reactions and instantly react. So to see a black man pause and recognize the situation, that's big. That's what I got out of it. I really appreciate that.
Love it, love it. Not always visceral, right? Not always that knee jerk. Hey, brother down here cheating. What's your name?
Alan Ashby.
Alan, love it. I love the responses.
Oh, yeah.
Anything to add?
Well, no, I mean, you know, I have some background in emotional intelligence myself, so I'll just add this. You know, one of my teachers and professor told me that emotional intelligence is the highest form of intelligence, because once you have the ability to control your emotions and your mental, that is when you can apply your regular intelligence, right? So if your mind is not intact, you can't achieve the things that you want to achieve. If your mind is not in the place of discipline and doing and the action, then you can't step into the phase of doing that work. So before your academic intelligence kind of kicks in, you have to make sure that your mental stamina, your mental self is intact. So I just want to say that. Thank you.
Love it, love it. Saying Chaz was about to drop me. Self-awareness. Awesome, awesome. Yep.
So I absolutely love the presentation. I know it's extremely needed, and just kind of having these conversations and understanding even the ranges of emotions that you kind of went through. You know, you kind of talked about this conditioning, right? That we always say, you know, we're furious, we're angry, when we're actually not feeling that. And these words start to manifest themselves in the actions that we have, and we're not even actually feeling that, right? So how can we start to be honest with ourselves and understanding that? So when I was thinking about emotional intelligence, kind of how I utilize it in my field, I'm the chief of staff to a state assembly member. So I help create laws for the state of New Jersey, and part of my job is to advocate on my members' behalf for certain laws so that we can get support for these things, right? So my part of my emotional intelligence is understanding and being able to connect other people's experience and how they're feeling about certain aspects in society. So whether it's about women's issues, whether it's about reproductive rights, or we're talking about mental health and youth and trying to promote programs. So I'm going to a legislator understanding, hey, you have a child, how can we relate this to you? And if this is your child, how can we understand that? So now we can make more intentional policy related to something that you also understand. So all that being said, I think this is extremely important. There's so many different ways that you can understand this, and this is more of like the strategy implementation that I'm kind of talking about now. But I just think this is very much needed. So thank you. So we have a comment in the chat. So we have Brother Keith on the Zoom, and he had a few cents to add as well. He said, knowing the ranges of where someone is and where you are. is extremely important. Just echoing a lot of the sentiments that all the other brothers share, but it is extremely important, absolutely.
I did want to add that in our daily interactions with individuals, two things happens. Either we're hearing or we're listening. Listening is a skill. We sometimes hear to respond, but if we were to listen and understand, we tend to react differently. Because sometimes when you hear, you can become emotional. And when you react emotional, you can elicit a response out of another individual, which may not necessarily be in your favor. So again, if we pause, again, with emotional intelligence and take our time, yeah, we can handle situations much better.
So seasoned answer.
Oh, okay. I just feel like, so I work in New York, all right? So coming from Jersey and going to New York every day, I was in New York for years, and I came back to Jersey. Now going back to New York, I've learned that I got to get a New York attitude again. Because just like what you said, people walk by you and bump you all day in New York. Now, like you said, I could flip every time, but most of the time I just start laughing because I feel like if I flip every time and just start slapping dude, then it's a different mentality that I have to take, and then there's repercussions from slapping dude. I slap him, he hit his head, now I got a charge or something. So I feel like emotional awareness is something that's kind of learned, or I can't think of the word I'm looking for. Emotional, it's kind of something that I can't think of the word I'm looking for. You kind of eventually acquire. You kind of eventually acquire it, because it took me a long time when I first started working in New York. When I first started working in New York and walking the streets in New York, and people bump you, and I had to turn around and look at them, and they just keep going. So to me, that said, okay, so this person is not so much of where they're at in their life, in their mentality, but it's a normal thing here. Just like driving in New York. You drive in New York, and cabbies will cut you off, and they don't feel like they did anything wrong. It's the culture there. So I feel like your emotional awareness kind of bases on where you're at in a way. Kind of bases on where you're at. Now, if I was in Virginia, walking the streets of Norfolk, Virginia, people say good morning. People say, hey, how you doing? They don't know me, but that's just the culture. That's just the mentality. New York, they look at you and almost want to say something else to you. So that's why I just felt like it's like something that's acquired after a while. You know what I'm saying?
Stages. They are. I love that. And he got into a little bit of the academia of it. Like I said, this is more so an introduction. So when he mentioned the culture, right? Ethos, right? So just to get a slight bit of academia, right? Ethos is just like the disciplines, the culture, what your society is based on, right? Like westernized versus, easternized. That's our ethos, right? And also, if you empathize with someone, does that mean you agree with them? Absolutely. I think people get that twisted. Just because I'm empathizing doesn't mean I agree, right? Somebody may rob a bank. Oh, he did it to save his family, but he shot somebody in the process. I empathize with your family, but I don't agree with that because you harmed somebody else in the process, right? So it's a difference, right? And also, and I'll leave you with this, and I'll give back the mic, emotional intelligence, at least for Marlon, is oftentimes difficult when I don't agree with the person, right? So Evan talked about his policies and what he does, right? He has to support people, but that doesn't mean he agrees with what he's necessarily talking about or discussing, right? So we got to keep that in mind too. Like in certain things, if you want to be a leader, you must first serve. We know that. But also being a leader, you have to lead people you don't like, people you don't care for. They may not care for you, but that shouldn't disparage you from being a leader. That's why you're a leader, because you can lead those personality types. Does that make sense? Awesome. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you.
Let's give Marlon a hand, please, one more time. Thank you, Marlon. So next we're gonna have Brother Eric Lowry come up. But prior to him coming up, I just wanna note a few things that you guys already received when you came in. You received a care package that has a shirt in it, that has a notebook. I see some of you already taking notes. Use this time to take notes. I know we're not in school, right? You don't have to. That's cool. But a lot of this, what you're taking away, is going to be essential to any work that you do, right? We're not having a conversation specifically on accounting, right? We're not worried about the specifics. We're learning about the tools and the takeaways that we can utilize to better our societies from wherever we come from, right? So don't be afraid to take notes. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I'm loving the engagement so far. So, Brother Eric Lowry, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about him. He's a dedicated Delaware licensed master's social worker with extensive expertise and certifications in trauma, substance use, and cognitive behavioral therapy, particularly in addressing criminogenic, what is that the word? Criminogenic needs with an expressive 18 career dedicated to counseling and promoting mental wellness. Eric has made a significant impact on the lives of adolescents, adults, couples, and families. Throughout his career, Eric has played pivotal leadership roles in nonprofit organizations serving the mental health needs of both the community and the prison system. His commitment to enhancing the well-being of individuals through mental wellness is unwavering, and he firmly believes in leaving a positive footprint on earth by uplifting others. Eric's work has not been limited to the realm of mental health alone. He is also passionate about physical fitness and has over 8 years of experience in personal training. He takes great joy in witnessing the transformative power of physical health and fitness in people's lives, which contributes to longevity, happiness, and enhanced focus. I gained a few pounds, so if you can help me out, we could talk after this. Outside of his professional pursuits, Eric cherishes his family and values spending quality time with his loved ones, especially his little one. He is an enthusiast of jiu-jitsu, a martial art that exemplifies discipline and mental fortitude. Eric is also an avid traveler who seeks to broaden his horizons and explore diverse cultures. His passion for problem solving extends beyond his career as he enjoys engaging in games like chess, Monopoly, Othello, and Scrabble, using them as a mental retreat to relax his refocus. Eric is recognized as a strategic thinker who excels in identifying innovative solutions to challenges, even when conventional wisdom suggests there may be none. He thrives on thinking outside the box, especially when it comes to helping individuals unlock their true potential and enhancing their lives. In a world where societal expectations often overshadow individuality, Eric Lowry firmly believes in the power of assessing one's best self and recognizes that sometimes all it takes is the guiding hand of a caring professional to help individuals find their purpose and navigate the path towards personal fulfillment. Eric is committed to making a lasting impact by fostering growth, resilience, and well-being in the lives of those he serves. And I welcome Eric Lowry to present. And just give me 1 second, my brother. Actually, I know we have somebody that has to go. If we can all just take a quick picture prior to Eric presenting for us, if you guys can all just come to the front really quickly. If you don't have your shirt on, if you could put it on, I'm gonna do that real quick myself, so I'm not a hypocrite. But if you can make your way, we'll make it really quick. We'll snap the picture and we can just proceed. It wasn't plugged up?
No.
Oh, I think I unplugged